everybody. Today we are going to answer some questions from the community, talk a little bit about Vue.js, Ember.js, and I'm going to give away some free books. So stay all the way to the end and you guys can find out all about it. So let's begin. So first, I have a few questions here. So I'm here live, but if you're watching the recording, welcome. Let me do one thing here. Going to check YouTube. Just check one thing over here, make sure everything looks okay. And it does. So I'm going to do one thing here while we're waiting for people. And we're going to, 1 second. I'm sending out an email to some people just to let them know that I'm live right now if they want to join. So I'm going to send it immediately. Okay. So that was just a little maintenance I had to do on the side there. Just trying to make sure everything works correctly. Hey, what's up, guys? Sergio. What's up, Gustavo? So I have some questions I'm going to answer. So let me look over here. You can see here I did this free book giveaway video last week where I mentioned I would give away some free books during this broadcast. So I will go ahead and do that now. Let me just start. I'll go ahead and pick one person to start to give away. So if you don't know, my book is Vue.js in Action. This one right here. And you can see here I have the first 8 chapters done, and actually I have the whole book done, but it's not in early access yet, but you'll get all the chapters as they come out. You'll get them all. So let's go ahead and start here. So I'm going to hit here, and so I'm going to give away my first free book. I'm going to hit start. And the first free book will go to Web Binary. How do I integrate Vue with Electron was his question. So if you are, I'm going to leave a comment for Web Binary on my channel, and what he needs to do is he needs to message me on YouTube and let me know that he had his question on here. I'll go ahead and find it later. And he can message me with his email address, and then as long as he's subscribed to my email list, I'll go ahead and get him a book. So that is the first one. So I'm going to write that down for Web Binary. Okay, so his question is, how do I integrate Vue with Electron? Now, I have not seen, I know you can with Vue, because Vue.js is just a really simple library that you can kind of add to any project. So I don't see any reason why you can't get that working with Electron. I would just download Electron and then include it in with your project. Now, I don't know if there's any specific Vue.js Electron libraries together, but I have seen people use Vue with all sorts of projects. I've seen people use Vue.js with, like, which doesn't really make sense, with other, single page application frameworks like React. I mean, it's really simple to add into any project and start using. So I don't see any reason why you can't integrate with Vue and Electron, but, your mileage may vary. Hey, what's up, guys? Martin. So if you guys have any questions during the broadcast, just feel free to put it in the live chat. Super chat is also enabled if you want to do that. I actually have never gotten a super chat. I really don't do that many live broadcasts, but if you guys want to do super chat, that's great. So I have a few other questions that I will jump on here. So what skills do you need to land a Vue.js? So here's one of them. What skills do you need to land a Vue.js job aside from Vue.js, which is interesting. Well, of course, any type of web development job, you'll need to know the basics of HTML, JavaScript, CSS. There are some, depending on the company that you're at, they may have a front-end developer and a back-end developer and a designer, and then sometimes they have a middle person between the designer and the front-end developer that kind of takes the HTML and CSS together, and sometimes your front-end developer handles more of the JavaScript. In some companies, the front-end developer does literally everything from front end to back end, or excuse me, front end includes HTML, CSS, JavaScript. They're actually maybe doing some designing too, cropping images, putting together the page. So it just depends on the place you work. Obviously, like freelancing, you might be doing everything. So it just really depends on the place you work. But I would say you have to know to get a job doing Vue.js. You need to know obviously the basics of JavaScript and the other frameworks. JavaScript, CSS, things like that. I would also, any type of job, you might want to think about kind of the interpersonal skills, being able to work on a team with other people. I mean, it's very rare nowadays to be on a team by yourself, so you're always going to be on a team with other people, so you need to have some people skills too. Like, can you coordinate with people in your team? Can you actually can you accomplish a goal? So yeah, there's a lot of things you need to know to get a job doing Vue.js development other than just Vue.js. And Vue.js is definitely rising in the amount of developers that people are looking for. More and more companies, definitely smaller companies, even there's large enterprises that are moving over to Vue. A lot of companies, I mean, if you're in a big enterprise company, you might have one team that does React, one team that does Ember, one team does Vue.js. Like I know, for example, Netflix, they have their front end is kind of like a modified React, what I've been told, at least it was at one point. And they hire React developers, but they also actually help hire Ember.js developers. Last year, they were a big sponsor of EmberConf. So, I mean, you can have the skills, and some of these companies are looking at Vue and doing like smaller projects in them, maybe internal tools. So, yeah, there's a lot of things you probably need to know to get a job as a Vue.js developer in general. Learning, obviously, like how to talk to a backend server. I mean, Vue.js, like learning like an Axios library, learning solid design, CSS principles, things like that. What's up, guys? When is it good to use React and Angular with code with Ashish? So, yeah, I mean, it depends on like what you're trying to build and what company you're working at. So, like for example, I love Vue.js and Ember.js, but I'm actually working on another project in my work on Angular 5. So I've kind of had experience with all three. And what I kind of like about Angular 5 and what I don't like about Angular 5 and Angular 2, if you want to say it, is that it's really modular. Of course, you do have a lot of imports. You're using TypeScript, which is a superset of JavaScript, which is great. A lot of people are moving over to Visual Code for the IDE, but Atom has great plugins, Sublime has great plugins for TypeScript, so you can easily see all the errors. And definitely for larger like enterprise level applications, Angular 5, I could see how it makes a lot of sense using it because you're gonna have hundreds of components. There's gonna be a lot of complexity. You can obviously all these frameworks have components, but you can modularize it in different areas. TypeScript support's awesome. So I can see where that would be like in a large application like Angular. The newer versions of Angular would be great. And I guess you can make the argument that you can do it in smaller applications. But when I put together, like if I want to just prototype a real quick web app, I'm gonna go for Vue.js because it's so simple. Like I can just literally add in the link to the script tag at the top to the Vue CDN. I have a lot of functionality out of the box to get it up and running quickly and just put together a real quick page. And with Angular, I know there's probably ways to do it, but it feels like it's definitely a little bit more difficult to just create that really simple app. You'd have to use Angular CLI. You would have to generate all your forms and everything or generate your components real quickly. And I would say that maybe that same kind of thought is with Ember. React, I haven't used a ton of React. I used it in a few projects, so I probably wouldn't be able to answer like the best scenarios. Obviously, React is probably the most popular of these front-end frameworks. I mean, not including like jQuery or things like that, but like actual single-page applications that has, React technically isn't a framework. It's a library, as people would imagine, but once you add in the router and everything else, it becomes more of a framework. So, but it's really popular. There's a lot of jobs out there for it. It has a lot of different use cases, a lot of different situations people can come in and use it. Like I said, I'm not an expert in it, so I wouldn't be able to tell you all the great use cases for it. Let's see here. Okay, I'll answer another question. Actually, let's go ahead and give away. I've given away one free book. Let's give another one away. And I'll probably give some away to the chat too, if you guys have some good questions. Like I said, Super Chat's enabled if you guys want to try that out. Let's see here. I'm going to refresh it. All right, the next winner of the free book is Albert Galvez. I'd love to read your book. Can I get one signed? Okay, man. First, I'll go ahead and I'll leave a comment on YouTube that you've won. And what you need to do, like I said, the last person is you need to message me on YouTube with your email address, and we'll get you a free copy of that book. Of course, you'll need to be signed up for my email. I'll double check to make sure that's correct. So thank you, Albert. And the book right now, it's in early access, and what that means, you can download the PDF or the EPUB, whatever version of the version you want right now. It's going to be updated all the way up to release. I'm actually done with the rough draft right now. I'm just going through revisions of it, and when so you'll get updates all the way up to it, and then probably in a month or two, it'll probably closer to 2 months. It'll be out in physical. You can actually physically buy it, and it'll be all polished up for you. And at that point, sure, I will sign it for you. So I will give this book away. These are the ebook versions, by the way, because the physical version isn't out yet. And let me switch screens so you could see what I did here. This is what I got. Winter. Okay. So we got, what's up, guys? What's up, Martin? How do you feel about Vim when any other YouTuber uses Atom or Visual Code? Yeah, so I'm a big Vim. I actually did all my tutorials in Vim for quite a while, and people, I think people don't realize, Vim is technically just an editor, like a text editor. But once you add in a lot of these plugins, you can make it pretty powerful, and it's definitely it takes a while to get used to. I would have to say that. I mean, just using the key bindings to move around the keyboard, all the kind of cool things you can do with it. Now, what I've done is that I use Vim at my work and at home, but occasionally I'll switch over to Atom, or for these videos that I do on YouTube, or like a project at work, maybe I'll do Atom or Visual Code. But it just depends. You can actually download plugins for Atom, and I know IntelliJ, and I don't know Visual Code, but you can just get the Vim binding, so at least you can kind of feel like you're in a Vim situation. You can, quickly move around the document. I think the power of Vim is that just the key bindings and getting used to the way it does things, like to go to the top of the document, to the bottom of the document, to quickly like search and replace a bunch of text, to open like with different plugins to open certain files quickly. I have like a TypeScript one. I have like an automatic linting one. Like I've been able to do a lot of stuff you can do in like Visual Code or Atom just with a bunch of plugins in Vim, and then I can edit it. It's definitely not as user friendly, but it's one of my favorites, of course. And I've been at other web development places where like it's a lot of people have used Vim, and we're all Vim fans. So that's really cool. But if you're brand new, I would say stick to Atom, stick to Sublime, Visual Code, stuff like that. Somebody mentioned TeamX. Yeah, definitely. You can do like there's Screen and TeamX on the Unix environment, or Linux, Unix, Mac environments. You can install those, and it's a screen multiplexer, so you can have your screen open, and then you can have a hotkey to open up another screen and run a command and have it running in the background. And then you can switch back to other screens. Or like kind of what I like to do is on my main Vim, on my main screen, I have Vim open with multiple tabs, so I can go to any of my files quickly. And I usually have those tabs split. And then in the next screen or the next TeamX session, I have the app running, like ngserve or EmberS or view npm start, whatever. So the app is running, and then the third screen I'll have my test runner running. So that way I can kind of quickly switch between my Vim screen and the test runner to see if the test passed or not. And that's one way to do it. Of course, you can depending on what environment you're running, you can Chrome will automatically update to with your test cases that are running. There's a lot of ways to do it. Does a deeply nested component tree make the app slower in Vue? That's by Ajala. No. So there is a couple of things here to think about, and I don't want to get too technical, but in Vue.js there's Webpack, and Webpack it's doing some code splitting. It's doing combining of the code into this Webpack files, I should say. And you can specify not to kind of lazy load components and lazy load elements in your Vue.js app. So that way, if you do have these deeply nested components, that it lazily loads it, so it actually improves performance. That's a little bit more of an advanced feature, but it's something that you can do, and it's actually, I did cover it briefly in the book. So that's a couple things you can do. So I guess I'll answer a couple more from the chat. Confusion with how it all fits together, needed a best practice. So Mike K says Vue.js, Ionic, Webpack, Python, Django, Axios, Vuetify, etc. So your question is how it all fits in and that it all needed or best practices. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different technologies you can do when you're creating like a Vue app. So you have, obviously, there's Vue CLI, which kind of packages kind of the best things that you need to create a Vue app. You can do single file components, which is a way to have a component that has basically your template at the top, your JavaScript, and your CSS all in one file. Some people like that, some people don't. And it has your test runner, it has Karma, and it has your end-to-end test runner built into there. So it has everything kind of built in, and then has Webpack that kind of puts everything together for you, builds it into the application. It runs anything you need for ES6, converts it back to ES5, your Babel transpilers, things like that. Then there's different things you can add with it, like Vuetify is like a material design. I don't know if that answered your question, but yeah, there's a lot of things. Hey, what's up, Coding Tutorials 360? Yeah, definitely Vim coding for coding hipsters. Yeah, I would say that's true. No, it's not true. Yeah, definitely in any sort of web development or just development in general, you're gonna have kind of these people that just think a certain way, very idealists, and maybe a little hipster that think their way is better. But there's always more than one way to do things, and Vim is really fun though. If you get good at it, you can really quickly improve your performance. And tooling is something that I'm always like tinkering with and messing with. I'm like, I gotta try this plugin. I gotta try this plugin. Does this make me faster, slower? And you can waste a lot of time doing that stuff. Yeah, the JetBrains stuff, like IntelliJ, WebStorm. There's a lot of evangelists for those IDEs and platforms and you can. I mean, there's so many plugins. There's so many hotkeys. Like, if you're doing Java development in IntelliJ, you can simply like quickly move over between different things. What is your preferred tool set nowadays? Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of different tool sets. I use like just different. I mean, right now, I guess the tools I use mostly is, I have a MacBook. I have Atom, Visual Code, Vim. We just mentioned a few of these screen. I like Dash, which is kind of a way to quickly look up documentation. Of course, you can just simply Google a lot of that stuff too. That's a few off the top of my head. IntelliJ or Eclipse for Java development. I like Postman to do requests, like HTTP curls. I like curl, of course. Netcat, if I have to do some quick networking stuff. Yeah, that's a few off the top of my head that I can think of. Let's see here. So let's give away another book. So I'm going to refresh this. And I'm going to hit start. All right. So he did not put any comment, at least. So I'm going to pick another one. Sorry, Nishan. So I'm going to, oops, put the URL in. I'm going to search again for my third book, I think. I'm going to hit start. And, all right, Dylan. So Dylan, if you're watching, or I'll leave a comment under your, I'll leave another comment. I'll reply to your comment. You just have to message me on YouTube and give me your email address, and I'll get you that book. So here's my question. I'm in the somewhat unique situation where I have a non-computer science microbiology bachelor's degree with a minor in computer science. I actually didn't take any web development courses in the process of completing that minor. I mainly use C, C++, and Python. So here's my question. Do you think that minor could be helpful for me in searching for a web developer job? And if so, what would you recommend strategy be for doing so? Thanks for your awesome videos. So you have a microbiology bachelor's degree with a minor in computer science, but you didn't end up taking any web development courses. Now, this is kind of a misnomer for kind of the computer science in general. A lot of people think it's all theory and that you don't learn anything practical, and that's actually not true. You do have quite a few theory classes and math classes, but the core curriculum of any computer science department, any good computer science department, is going to have an algorithms class. They're going to have a data structures class. They're going to have maybe a compilers class. So you are going to get more than just the fun, just kind of that type of stuff. You're gonna get concrete examples of how to actually program. Now, web development is a little different. A lot of programs maybe offer electives that might have something to do with web development. I think I heard it was like MIT or Stanford's having like a CS 101 class where they're using JavaScript or something like that. So yeah, that's definitely the case, that your curriculum program, or maybe because you're a minor, it just didn't have that option. So I think having a degree of any kind helps you, obviously, and I always put a caveat to this because a lot of people watch my videos. I made a video about why computer science. I made some computer science program videos, but anytime you have a degree, it's like a little bit, not a ton, especially if you're brand new out of school. It gives you a little bit of an advantage, kind of, I would say almost like an unfair advantage to someone that doesn't have a degree that's right out of school. Now, this isn't true later on in your career when you both have 10 years of experience. Then it's not, doesn't matter as much. But when you're out of school, any little small advantage helps. Like my buddy Dylan, he like worked his butt off, self-taught himself, did these amazing YouTube videos. That's like a unique, unfair advantage, I would say. He really went above and beyond. Some people do college degrees. That also helps. So yeah, do you think that minor would be helpful? Absolutely, yeah, it definitely would be helpful. Just because when you want to show that you have some sort of experience, and having a degree behind you will help you. Now, people will argue that you didn't learn anything about web development in a job, but I think depending on the company, they may want to look at people with degrees over people without degrees if you're looking at the same thing with no experience. So that can help. Obviously, you would want to try to work really hard to build a portfolio to show that to stand out a little bit. You may want to take some freelancing. You may want to take some Udemy classes. You may want to look, if you're really super dedicated, maybe look at a coding bootcamp. But I think you're going to have more opportunity to get that entry-level job somewhere where someone's going to be willing to work with you if you have a degree compared to someone with no experience with no degree. But I would say do both. Try to self-teach yourself as much as you can in web development at the same time as you're applying for these places. Try to put together a portfolio. Try to give yourself some sort of advantage doing it. So thank you for that question, Dylan. Let's see here. Yeah, Dolan's in the house. Coding tutorials. I don't know if he's still on, but that's pretty funny. jQuery plus Bootstrap, now Vue plus one building front end for web apps. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways you can build front end web apps. I mean, Vue.js is really simple, so I would say Vue. Bootstrap is really easy. I've been using a lot of Foundation, Zerb's Foundation, recently in a project. All three are really easy to get up and running, and of course learning those basics of HTML, CSS. I would say, yeah, if you want to quick prototype something, use Vue, and then just, yeah, throw in your favorite CSS framework like Zerb, or with the Zerb Foundation, or Bootstrap, or easy ways to go. Or you can become a Wix developer. I heard there's money in that too. Okay, I got Mansoor. Hi, this might be a silly question, but just curious sake, is there any new JavaScript frameworks after Vue.js came out? Any rumors, etc.? I haven't been keeping up with every single framework that's been coming out in the JavaScript world, so I don't know that. I know someone took Vue.js and created a very similar clone to Vue.js. I can't remember the name of it. Maybe someone in the chat knows. It's like almost a Vue.js clone, but it like they took some stuff out of Vue.js to make it even simpler. But I don't know any real stuff. Hey, Bay. If you guys are just joining the chat, you feel free to ask some questions. I'm giving some books away to the chat and to the people who left questions. Super chat's enabled too. I have not gotten a super chat yet. Maybe one day I will. We'll see. Hello, Eric. Let's see here. What are your thoughts on learning? So this is from Forrest Dang in the chat. Eric, what are your thoughts on learning WordPress for freelancers in 2018? Thoughts on pay potential once you know what you're doing? So WordPress that's kind of the thing that always people forget. Everybody focuses on React, Angular, Vue, Ember, but people don't realize, like, the PHP world, the WordPress developers out there, that is obviously a great venue to go to, especially if you want to do some freelancing. There's a lot of work out there for WordPress developers, and I know that for freelancers, if you're a pretty good WordPress developer, you have some open source plugins that you've created that people are actually using, you're in high demand. People will want your skills, and you can charge just as much as, you know, a highly trained professional Angular and JavaScript developer out there. So it's certainly great to go out there. People kind of crap on PHP a lot, saying it's not that good. And maybe there's a little bit of merit to the language itself, but there's plenty of positions out there. And there's so many just mom and pop companies out there that have old busted out PHP WordPress sites that they need help with. And if you can get in good with those people, you can make a pretty good freelancing business. Now, of course, the competition is huge. There's hundreds of thousands of developers doing a WordPress development. But if you can kind of stand out and get your foot in the door, I think it's highly recommended for sure. What's up, Christian? Member.js, my friend from France. Let's see here. But just curious, okay, let me see if I can take another one from the chat. Hello, Eric. I'm 18. Should I go to college, or should I just try to get a junior web dev job? I'm pretty confident that I can get a job with what I learned until now. I would try to do both. I mean, well, it depends on I don't know your financial situation. So if you're going to have to take these huge loans, and, you know, that would be not so great. But if you could, like, go to school and work part-time doing web development, kind of make sure you keep up those skills, you can come out of 4-year college with all this web development skills and a college degree, and that would be great. I would say if you could try to do a combination of both. Now, there is definitely always exceptions to this rule. There's some people that have natural aptitude that have been programming since 14, and they're getting offers out of school, you know, 6-figure offers right out of high school, but that doesn't happen too often. And I'm an advocate, and I'm probably the very rare exception on YouTube. Almost everybody else kind of poo-poos college in general, but I'm one of those people that actually think, you know, college, I think, is a good idea, long as you can do it not too much in debt, that you can maybe get some scholarships, or you can figure out ways that you can keep it affordable. But I think it's a great opportunity, especially if you're in a good university. Companies, especially larger corporations, will look at that favorably. But we could talk about that for hours. That's kind of interesting. Went to WordPress meetup recently. Lots of people and interesting presentation. Gutenberg. That's good. That's good. Blockstick. So I'm gonna do another giveaway from. This is from the my YouTube channel. So let's pick one more person. I think that's number 4 or 5. So I'm going to pick it. Look, there's a couple people that commented recently because they want a free book, I think. All right, so the next winner is Yazlam S. Once again, message me. I'll put a comment under your, I'll reply to your comment. You just need to message me on YouTube with your email address. I'll make sure it's all good, and then we'll get you a free copy of the book. So is Kotlin replacing Java? No. I mean, it's certainly the kind of this wave I've seen in the last few years is this functional programming wave where a lot of people are thinking we want to do development in a different way. We don't want to have surprises in our objects mutating. We want to do it in a certain way, and Kotlin, I think, is kind of that sort of wave coming to the Java world. I'm not sure when it came out, maybe 2-3 years ago. I'm not an expert in Kotlin. I've only kind of skimmed through the Manning book on it, and then I thought I don't want to do this right now. But it's certainly not replacing. It's kind of another way of writing Java. It uses the JVM. It's a completely different syntax, of course. And I would look at it, if you're just starting with Java, start with plain Java though. Just learn like basic classical inheritance. Understand what interfaces are. Understand how abstract classes work. Try to create something simple in Java, and then look at, I would say, jump to Spring Boot and the Spring framework, because many enterprises are using that to develop with. And then the other side of the coin of that is doing .NET, do .NET development, because I think that's kind of the two major enterprise programming languages out there. You could probably make an argument that some places are going to go and score C, C++, things like that. But I think those two you see a lot of. And then a lot in the startup community would be kind of different. Obviously Ruby on Rails. We're seeing some stuff happening there. Elixir, Phoenix. Okay, so should I learn Scala for web development or for machine learning? I don't know. I don't use Scala too much. I guess I couldn't really answer that question. But I've heard it, like the geekiest of the geeks tell me the wonders of Scala and how awesome it is and how it's such an old language, but it's been, I don't know, it's a lot of people love it, and I just don't know a whole lot about it. Okay. I don't know. I will. Someone asked me about Java Spring books. So Java Spring is. You can look at in Manning's website. There's Java Spring in Action, version 5 of the book. It starts with, this is the first Java Spring in Action book that actually starts with Java Spring Boot, instead of kind of a combination of using like just the regular Spring framework, and they mentioned Boot later on. I think it's Craig Wells is the book. That would be the one I would recommend. It's actually in early access, so only 4 or 5 chapters are out, but that would be the one that I would look up. And if you don't, you can go with the previous version, version 4, and it does bring Spring Boot in that version, but it's a little bit older. The problem with Spring is that things are moving, and any kind of web development, things are moving pretty quickly. So, I mean, my Vue.js book is up to date, but some of these other books are not. I don't know the future of Angular with NGRX. I would not be able to answer that. But let's do one more comment. Enter the YouTube URL. Let's do one more random winner. Marc Williams. Can a new developer... So Marc Williams, you want a copy of my Vue.js in Action book, just message me on YouTube. I'll leave a comment on yours. Can a new developer get into backend development without first getting a job in front end? Yeah, certainly. There's a lot of, I've seen the path of a lot of developers go kind of linear, where they start with front end development and then they move to back end. you know, I don't see why a company wouldn't hire a backend developer right off the bat, even if they didn't have front end experience. You know, these are two different paradigms. You're different technologies. If you're, I mean, you might have like a front end in, I don't know, React, or just vanilla HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and then your backend could be in Ruby on Rails, could be Java, could be Phoenix, the Phoenix framework. So those are two different set of skills. Obviously, the back end has to interact with the front end, unless in case if you don't do that, nothing will happen. But they do two different sets of skills, so I don't see why you can't get in. Now, as a brand new developer without any experience, I think the easier path would probably be to do front end. But if you have the skills, then I don't see why you can't get into the back end. In general, it'll be difficult for both. If you don't have, your first job is always in web development or any kind of development is, I think it's difficult for a lot of people, especially if you're switching careers or you're just getting into it, or you don't have like a kind of a background in programming, and you're just trying to get a new job. It's difficult, but of course it can be done. Of course, many people do it. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, Matt Payne mentioned. Okay, Keith Warren, what is your recommendations and resources for just pure vanilla JavaScript? Eloquent. Someone mentioned Eloquent JavaScript. That's a good one, but it might be too difficult for some people. Somebody mentioned you don't know JavaScript seems to be something everyone raves about. Yeah, I mean, those are all good recommendations. Let me think. For just a pure JavaScript, yeah, there's so many resources online. I'd almost like recommend for a book. I have to think about it. I think those two are pretty good. I know there's a few free like JavaScript books. I think Eloquent JavaScript's one of them, where you can just like literally read it on the website. They just posted the whole book. Obviously, once you get more into it, I use documents like MDN to look up documentation. Let me try to think what resources I used when I first started. I don't remember what I used. I think I kind of backed into it a little differently. When I was learning a long time ago, I would just kind of mess around with it and then just Google everything I couldn't figure out. Which probably wasn't the best thing, because having like a more structured way of doing it's easier. I think if I was starting over today, I would probably use a combination of online resources, maybe a couple books and maybe some courses, like the Udemy, Colt Steele's courses, like the Web Developer Bootcamp. That's if I didn't want to go to like a developer bootcamp, which I think could work too. Okay, let me see here. I got some more questions. Let me take one from here. My question, okay, here's congratulations, 10,000 subscribers. I've been watching your videos and your reviews under Udemy courses have been really helpful. My question is, why should learn Vue.js over JavaScript framework libraries? Thank you. Well, I think Vue.js is definitely getting a lot of popularity and momentum. So with other JavaScript frameworks, they are, I mean, obviously React and Angular are super popular, but I like Vue.js and how quickly it is to get up and running. It has a very quick ramp up time. I really enjoy. I like how the simplicity of it and the components being in one page, the single file components. It has really great ways of doing transitions and animations that are really simple. I mean, if you go to like an Angular project, like an Angular 4 or 5, or 2, 4, or 5, and you want to do animations, and you have to import all these libraries in, and you have to add it into your providers, and then you have to make sure that it's imported into each component correctly. I mean, it's kind of a huge pain. While on the other hand, something like Vue.js, it's like literally just a couple of lines and you've done it. You don't have to do any, actually in Vue.js in general, you have to import obviously components in, depending if your components using other components and passing things in, but I think it's a lot easier just to get up and running and started. I mean, that's one of the reasons I recommend it. So if you have any questions, can leave it in the live chat. I may not get to all of them, but I will try to. Let me see here. So project is managing static content put in other domains. Though the main developer, suppose your app is in the root of mysite.com, but you want to put JavaScript, CSS, and static.mysite.com. You cannot use task runners in the main application to help get this problem. That's a specific question. I'm not sure on static content. I mean, we use a CMS and different places we can just pull the information out of from our apps to get it, and there's quite a few places you can do that. I guess I've heard of people putting it in subdomains and then pulling it from there. You just have to do some more configuration of your Webpack, things like that. I don't know. There's a couple ways to do it. I don't know if I could answer that well enough, but I will keep looking. Is there easy? Let me ask a couple more here. Is there an easy transition from Angular to Vue.js? So I guess it depends if you're talking about like Angular 1 or Angular 2, 4, or 5 to Vue.js. If you're going Angular 1 and you go to Vue, you're going to notice like the directives are very similar. Vue kind of took some of those ideas from Angular. So I think that would be an easier transition going from 2, 4, or 5 to Vue.js. Once you learn one kind of paradigm of these frameworks or libraries, it's pretty easy to move on. I don't think the transition is that difficult. Just as a developer standpoint, kind of leveling up to moving from one framework to the other. And I think Vue.js is so simple you can easily make that. Now, if you're transitioning like a website, yeah, you're gonna have some problems. Obviously, you can take each component in Angular and then convert it over to a Vue component. You're gonna find some things are a little easier than others to do. Like if you're using the HTTP client in Angular, you're gonna have to move it over to Vue using like its own library. They recommend Axios. There's Vue resources too, which is another library Vue uses, but it's not necessarily recommended any longer. It's not the official recommendation. So I don't think the transition, I mean, it'll take some time for moving a website over. If you're just a web developer, I think you can jump into Vue pretty quickly if you know React or Angular or Ember. I mean, I certainly have. Okay, so let me just do. Okay, all right. I will give away. Since I have given away a few books, I'm going to give away one to our chat that it is on chat right now. So I will, let me think here. I don't have any bots or anything to really come up with a good way to give away a book, but I will say I'll pick a number from 1 to 20. I'll do the randomizer here. I want someone in the chat to just pick numbers. And if your number is picked, I will give you a free copy of the book. If that doesn't work, then I'll just pick someone randomly who asked me a good question recently. So I will do that in a minute. So if you guys want a free copy of the book, I'll give one away to the chat room. So how about this? If you're in the chat room, just say something, and I'll randomly pick one. I'll pick a number. We'll randomly choose it. And the one closest to it will get it. So let's do 1 through 20. 1 through 20. I'll answer one more question here and we'll wrap it up. If you want a super chat, I'll take that too. How easy is it to bundle Vue.js with Express Server during dev? Can I use Webpack for this? Yeah. So the way I would do this, and I haven't used Express with Vue.js, so this is kind of my guess, but I would take Vue.js. You can build it. It'll build it into just a single index HTML files and then another folder for your JavaScript and assets. I would build it first. In Express, I would create a static folder in Express. I would set a static folder, and then I would copy the contents of the built Vue.js app and put it in there. And then you could write a script to do that. I'm sure you can write it in Webpack or Gulp or Grunt or something like that to kind of move the stuff around, and then I would deploy it that way, which is the way I do it. So I would have 2 different development environments, one for Express, one for Vue, and then I would have a build tool that would compile the Webpack into the build, the production build, and then move that over to the Express static folder, which I think would work. All right, I'm gonna, let's see, random number generator. Let's see here. So I'm gonna do 1. Someone did 42, so that's fine, but I'll do 1 to 20 and I'll generate. Okay, 13. Oh, Kristen got 13, so you have 1. Cool, so you get a free book. And I'll Christian, if you could email me, I have your email, so I can email you. I'll let you know, or email me. If you don't know my email, yeah, I think it's the same Christian. Yep. So I'll email you with a copy of the free book. And Lockstick, since you've thought out, you did 42, I'll get you a free book too. So Lockstick, you need to email me. I don't know your email, so if you go to my GitHub page, my email's right listed on there. Just email me at that address, and I'll get you a free copy of the book, and we'll take care of it from there. All right, I think that's all I have for today. Thank you everybody for joining in this live impromptu chat of, well, I guess it wasn't impromptu, but it was planned, of questions on Vue. Appreciate everybody joining in. If you have any more questions, I'll probably try to do this more often, probably on the weekends. It's not a great time for a lot of people, so maybe I'll try to do one during the weekdays, maybe after work, so more people can join in, maybe like 5 o'clock Pacific time. And thank you so much, guys. Take care. Later.